Assalamu alaikum, this is Dr. Hasna, and today we will be discussing the valves, the types of valve and the structure of valves. So basically valves are tissues that ensure unidirectional flow of blood. In your heart there are about two types of valves, the atrioventricular valves that are lying between the atrium and the ventricles, and the semilunar valves that are lying at the root of your great vessels. The AV valves are two types, the tricuspid, the bicuspid. The tricuspid, as I said, TRI. Since it's RI, it's on the right side, while the bicuspid is on the left side. The bicuspid is also known as the mitral valve, the most important valve involved in rheumatic heart disease. So what's the point of saying this is tricuspid and this is bicuspid? It's basically the difference of cusps. So if we talk about the structure of a basic valve, the valve is basically going to consist of a round fibrous ring that is attached to the AV orifice, atrioventricular orifice. If it's in case of tricuspid, it will have three cusps. You can say these are like wings, okay, that are originating from the fibrous ring. The three cusps. In case of the left side, there will be only two cusps, and there are going to be three papillary muscles that are going to take care of all the three cusps. Here will be only two papillary muscles taking care. These cusps are basically going to be attached to the chorda tendineae. These connect the papillary muscles to the cusps. These muscles, with the contraction of the papillary muscles, the chorda tendineae are pushed and the valves get closed. And this happens during ventricular systole when the blood has to flow out. The aortic and pulmonary valves are also known as the semilunar valves. Both of these valves have three cusps. In the case of these valves, there is no fibrous ring. They are directly attached to the wall via the cusps. During ventricular diastole or ventricular relaxation, these valves are closed, and during systole or the ventricular contraction, these open. Whenever there is any kind of narrowing of these valves, it is known as stenosis. And whenever there is incompetent or they have inability to close, they do not close at the right time, it is known as regurgitation. And these can lead to multiple AV defects and cause effect to the function of the heart. Now let's talk about the fibrous skeleton of the heart. The fibrous skeleton of the heart is basically the framework of the heart to which the muscles are attached and from which the muscles originate. Nothing moves beyond this place. What is the location of the fibrous skeleton of the heart? Location is basically at the atrioventricular and arterial orifices. So you can say wherever there is the connection of atria and ventricle, and whenever there is the root of great vessels, or you can say at the levels of the valves. Surrounding them are fibrous rings. These constitute the fibrous skeleton of the heart. These areas provide attachment to the cardiac muscle and also keep the valves competent. The atrioventricular fibrous rings are in the form of rings. So this is the tricuspid, this is the mitral fibrous ring. These are going to be in the figure of 8. All the parts of the atria and ventricles and the membranous part of the interventricular septum are all attached to this figure of 8. There is no muscular continuity across these rings, except for where the bundle of his is going to cross. That we'll study in the conducting system. The fibrous tissue that lies between the atrioventricular rings and the aortic ring, this entire fibrous tissue is known as the trigonum fibrosum dextrum. And the fibrous tissue present between the aortic ring and the mitral ring is known as the trigonum fibrosum sinistrum. And the fibrous tissue that is extending from the pulmonary to the aortic ring, this is known as the tendon of infundibulum. This is a basic framework of the heart, which is lying at the atrioventricular rings and arterial rings. The atrioventricular rings are connected to each other in the form of figure of 8, where there is no muscular continuity except for the bundle of his, the fibrous tissue extending between the two atrioventricular rings and the aortic ring is known as a trigonum fibrosum dextrum, while the fibrous tissue extending between the aortic and mitral valve is known as the trigonum fibrosum sinistrum. And finally, the fibrous tissue between the pulmonary valve and the aortic ring is going to be called the tendon of infundibulum. So that was all for the fibrous skeleton and valves. In the next video, let's talk about the conducting system of the heart. Thank you so much for watching.